Rivers State is still very much in the news this morning. The front page of the Daily Times has Rivers crisis. Fubara vows to bring arsonists to book as new CP assumes duty. The details of that story you find on page 2 of the paper. Nigerian News Direct's angle is peace will reign only when. Wike says Fubara invited anarchy to Rivers by disobeying court order. As Rivers gets new CP amidst unrest, Fubara vows to punish perpetrators. The front page of the Nigerian Tribune has Rivers obeying rule of law will avert anarchy. It's coming from Wike. Fubara sets up 7-man panel to probe arson killings. Mixed reactions trail Rivers' conflicting court orders. Find the details of that story on page 4. Vanguard newspaper has the same story. Arson, oil output in Rivers threatened if. That's coming from Fubara. Fubara, architect of Rivers crisis, that's coming from Wike, says arsonists will account for setting LG headquarters ablaze. Vows corporates will be fished out. Swears in BP, 3 others as commissioners. Rivers government constitutes 7-man judicial commission into arsonists' attacks. Decries governor's pension for disobeying court orders. Sets to challenge judicial panel of inquiry. The details you find on page 5 of the paper today. If you look at the front page of the Blueprint newspaper, it's about the EFCC. Kogi, Anambra, Katsina, Cross Rivers, 12 others move against EFCC Act, approach Supreme Court to void agency's powers to arrest, probe funds management, hearing fixed for October 22. The details continue on the inside pages. Daily Independent has the same story. 16 states ask Supreme Court to declare EFCC unconstitutional. Find the details again on the inside pages of the paper this morning. Daily Trust has cholera-related deaths rise as Lagos, Jigawa, Kano lead in casualties. 10,837 suspected cases recorded nationwide in 9 months. Wow. 395 die in 21 states. NCDC blames rainfall, open defecation. Experts proffer solutions. The details of that story on the inside pages. The Guardian newspaper, anxiety as FG commits states' funds to special development commissions. What does that mean? You find the details of that story on page 6 of the paper this morning. The Business Day newspaper has foreign investments in Nigeria stocks up 204% in Q2. Portfolio investments rise 360% to $3.5 billion in half one. Investment growth linked to high yield environment reforms. The details of that story continue on the inside pages of the paper. These are some of the papers we have for you this morning.
Oh dear, quite a lot to take in on the front pages of the dailies. Where do you want to start from? Do you want to go with Rivers? Well, I know we've been on, I think there was a Rivers of Fire. How does water and fire go together? Big question. Okay. But there are also other, headlines that are not on the front page this morning, but are right there. You see this particular story on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go to what really stands out for me right now, but I want you to also see this particular story, and let's not sweep it under the carpet. 15 states join Kogi to challenge EFCC Act. Supreme Court fixes October the 22nd for hearing. This story is a very important story, and it's one that we should watch. Just a few days ago, there was a conference here in Abuja where the EFCC chairman was talking about how court orders have impeded their ability to be able to carry out investigations or invite certain persons for questioning, at their office, and was asking the judiciary to do something about it. But this is what we're seeing now, that the Kogi state government is challenging the existence of the EFCC at all. And they're not the only ones. 15 states.
Yeah.
Yes. They're challenging, they're asking the Supreme Court to say, does this organization, does this institution have a right to exist according to our laws? that it is not enshrined in the Constitution, and for it to be there, it has to have the approval of at least 2/3 of all the states of the Federation. And it's a very big affront on the institution itself. I mean, to challenge the very basis upon which this institution was created. Well, they are very well in their right. Some people will say that it's not everything that is, it's not everything. I'm looking for the exact term they use now. It's not everything that is right that you do, or it's not everything that you do that is right. I don't know how they say that. You have to ask, what is the motivation for this? What is the motivation? Is this just about, making sure that we're following the path of the rule of law? Or is this because, some people have now found the EFCC to be a threat, and they think this is not an organization or institution that they want on their backs after they have left office? Is that what this is about? Or is this really about upholding the Constitution? There are key questions that the lordships will have to consider if this matter eventually, this is the Supreme Court. It's actually a Supreme Court issue. When the lordships eventually get to consider this. And I want to imagine that, they will be as radical, as proactive, as they were with local government autonomy. But let us see which way the pendulum swings when this matter is considered on the 22nd of October. We don't have very long to wait. Today is just the, give me the date again. October the 9th. October the 9th, yeah. We're a day shy of the 10th. So we have about 13 days to wait to know which way the pendulum will swing. Will the EFCC cease to exist, or will it continue to be an organization that exists and has all the powers to investigate anyone who is found short, or found wanting of the law? But as I said, that is not the issue for me. Can you imagine having a lot to say on that? I think that's not the issue for you.
But have you guys noticed how these chaps, I think, who are they now? Governors, right?
Yeah.
Or these states. Do you notice how they fight vigorously and remember to defend the Constitution?
Yes.
When it's a matter that wants to get them behind bars.
To be accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So vigorously. The best lawyers come forward to defend them.
Yeah. Page 13 is where you should look. And we also have that story for you on Channels Television. If you missed the story on our website, it's right there. You also see video as well. But the story that really sticks out for me is the picture you're looking at on the front page of both the Nigerian Tribune and also the picture on the front page of the New Telegraph, which is the MD CEO of Nigerian Inland Waterways Authority, Mr. Bolaji Oyebamji. He is shown here to be distributing life vests in his condolence visit to the community over the recent boat mishap. He is distributing life jackets. I don't know if that has popped up for you to see. I'm looking at the front page of Nigerian Tribune on New Telegraph. It's right there for you to take a look at it. And I'm just wondering, are we joking? Is this a joke? Yes, well, a condolence visit is important, and, it's good to, sympathize when people have lost lives. When we look at the amount of lives that we have lost over the years, in boat mishaps. One of them recently being in Niger State last week, when it was reported that about 300 people were involved in a boat accident. It's not clear. We're still not clear how many people died in that accident. We are told they're in their tens. And in the last 1 year, we've lost close to 100 people, if not more, in boat mishaps. And we're saying we need to have a comprehensive safety plan for safety on our waterways. And just yesterday it was reported that there was an accident in Lagos State involving a collision between two boats on the waterways. We understand about 5 people are missing in that particular accident. Just a random visit with life jackets is not going to solve that. What we need is an institution that is saddled with the responsibility. I want to believe that the states will be involved, and also the federal government, since there's always this bickering as to who owns the waterways, who is in charge of the waterways. If the federal government says it is involved, the answer and the solution cannot be going to go and give life jackets to boat operators and community people when people have died. There has to be an institution there that monitors how many people are being loaded onto a boat, making sure that everyone who gets into that boat have safety jackets on, and possibly even taking names of the people who are getting onto those, means of transportation. It has to be something very organized. It cannot be a one-off slapdash measure that we're looking at in this particular instance. That is the only way we're going to be able to save lives. So, Mr. Niwa, while this is, I want to call him the MD CEO Niwa. Well, yes, we've seen your visit there. I hope you don't think that you're getting off lightly with this distribution
whether the
of life
pictures on
jackets.
the front page or not.
Well, all he's done is call attention to the fact that Niwa ought to be involved. And if that is the situation, then, sir, you will get called to account. Ayo.
Well, perhaps by way of kind of emphasizing that a little bit, I have taken some boat rides before in my time. There are some boats I won't get on. But the one in Niger State is such that people shouldn't have been allowed to be that many. I don't think people should have been allowed to be that many. Secondly, I don't think anyone called anyone out about whether or not they should wear life jackets. There is no reason why you should get on any boat without a life jacket. And then as to who is in charge, I can tell you this malware for free, that local governments charge those guys, the boat riders, they charge them for every trip.
Wow.
I have ridden boats in Port Harcourt before. There are certain boats, you don't even get near the boat without a life jacket. You don't get close. That should be the minimum standard. So you getting on a boat for yourself, you don't. And then the one that happened in Niger State shouldn't have happened if there was someone to tell the people, you guys are too many on this boat, you shouldn't get on it. That was, I think, that could have been a function of overload, but then, that's another matter altogether. Leading me, actually, to the issue of patriotism. It's on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning, where the federal government has unveiled National Values Charter for Nationhood and Patriotism. Guys, take it or leave it. I was just checking now, and I found out that as far back as 2021, we've been talking about national values and ethics. In fact, ICPC has a page on their website for national values and ethics. The question is, what are we doing about it? Where is the enforcement? Oh, yes, it is in line with the Constitution, and we know, although the Constitution is at least 25 years old, this particular one, Section 21, says the state shall protect, preserve, and promote the Nigerian cultures, which enhance human dignity and are consistent with the fundamental objectives as provided in this charter. There are a number of, there's another section that mentions specific things that has to do with integrity and all of that. Look at one of the fundamental principles of the policy: human dignity, voice and participation, patriotism, personal responsibility, integrity, national unity, and professionalism. Chamberlain, I take this back to the 15 states. Which of these issues that you pointed out the other time
is motivating
this agitation to proscribe the EFCC Act? Which one of them?
Corruption.
It's not a national value. That's a national vice.
That's why they are fighting it, because there's a leeway to escape.
So we should be very, very clear. In fact, this new move of the federal government says that it's going to be inculcated into basic primary education and possibly even JS education.
But this is not this is not the first time that this has been challenged. Don't forget that in Rivers State, this was also challenged. And I'm unclear if it was challenged successfully, where the state government maintains that EFCC has no right to prosecute anyone in their state because they're a federal government agency, and they have a court ruling to show for that. So it's not the first time this is happening to the EFCC. But when you now have this at the level of the Supreme Court, and you have 16 states, joining in this challenge, there are big questions to be asked as to, how altruistic is this really about the Constitution? Is this expedient at this time?
Don't forget, Malpe, that EFCC is also a child of circumstance of sorts.
Yes, we know.
There was a time that it was the ICPC that was the bulldog.
They didn't challenge the ICPC. I think it's just the EFCC.
Yeah, because the ICPC doesn't really get to state. I think the ICPC, there's a restriction with the ICPC. The EFCC is empowered to deal with economic and financial crimes. And it doesn't matter where it is. But what they're saying is that you have to get the approval of 2/3. Would they be willing to give 2/3 at this rate?
But we all know the answer. To give 2/3 of what? Somebody that will come and buy them with a bomb, give me 2/3. Of course, they would never. For instance, now, you know, when we say most times it just comes across as though the law is strong on the weak and weak on the strong. Look at the front page of Guardian again. Abuja court judgment on VIO inapplicable in Lagos. Government declares.
Yeah, I thought Chimele was going to miss that one. He didn't, obviously. You saw it.
Just to let people know, just so that you know, look, in Lagos, this is what's going on. So maybe you should just read it, inform yourself. Who knows if maybe any of those ministers in the Temple of Justice may say, wait a minute, but the principle that applied in Abuja, the principle that applied in Delta, that was what some of these judgments were predicated upon, after which they got judgment. So when any perhaps public interest lawyer challenge this and say, well, even if you say you have a law, any law that counters what, you know, the bigger one falls flat on its face.
But we don't really need that. Don't forget that during the tenure of Governor Ambode, they were asked to leave the roads.
Exactly. FRSC as well.
Does that directive still stand in Lagos? So
I think that's part of it, because the way they were...
you're in Lagos. Is there VIO on the road in Lagos?
Yeah, I haven't seen them in a while, to be honest.
Sometimes
they are on the road, but most of the time
if you go to Berger area, you know what they do? They try and look at those boundaries, those blind spots. So when they said they should leave Lagos, what they did was they went towards Ogun State area, where they know that, okay, people here are Lagosians bots. There's revenue here, but this is Ogun State. So they hide, they stay in that corner and say, well, if you can, we're in Lagos, this is Ogun State. So they are smart on some of this, but that's when it has to do with...
So maybe that's what the judgment is talking about. Maybe that's what that headline is referring to, that it doesn't apply in Lagos.
It goes back to national values, guys. The people in government themselves are citizens of Nigeria. And if we don't value our nation, if we don't value our laws, if we don't value our cultures, then what exactly do we
need to value the people above all else.
Absolutely.
We're back in a moment, everybody. Stay on with us.